Businesses, as they get ready to reopen their doors, as Gerardo Malo shows us, they may want to take certain precautions to avoid liabilities.
Marie, while no date has been set yet, many are becoming anxious about returning to work. And for some, the workplace environment may now be completely different than what they're used to. From strip casinos to local stores, bars, and restaurants, companies will now be faced with a new reality, one that requires them to consider the health and safety of employees and customers like never before.
And it's really going to require implementation of CDC guidelines and safety first.
Lena Hovanesian is an attorney familiar with corporate litigation. She says companies will be looking at a variety of potential liabilities related to coronavirus. Mitigation such as sanitizing workstations and public areas, making sure circulated air is virus-free, and also offering PPE to staff, she says, may become requirements in the new COVID-19 era.
Unless you have a cluster of people that get sick at a particular time or within a few days, and it's significant enough to be able to point back to a particular location, then we're talking about a potential risk.
That risk being lawsuits, companies potentially held liable for COVID-related deaths. In New York, more than 80 transit workers have now died from coronavirus. The transit authority there now offering a death benefit to victims' families. And Amazon is reportedly paying some of its employees hazard pay.
So we're recommending that you take all the precautions that you possibly can before you invite employees back to work, before you invite the public back into your place of business.
Mary Beth Sewell is president of the Vegas Chamber. She says local business owners may want to consult their attorneys and insurance providers for advice on how to best tailor their business to the new safety guidelines. Failure to do so, says Lena, may result in fines from OSHA and potentially even lawsuits.
It's definitely worth it for the employers and for patrons to think about these things proactively prior to business opening, rather than to take an approach that let's see what happens.
It's all hands on deck in the fight against the coronavirus. That's why students and professors here at UNLV are helping ensure tests aren't ruined before they make it to the labs.
Definitely something we could help with at UNLV. We had all the resources necessary.
UNLV is helping with the vital part of coronavirus testing, making sure test specimens get to the labs undamaged. They're making viral transport medium, a saline-type solution mixed with test samples and used as a preservative.
You have to put it into a liquid to transport that sample to the public health labs for testing. So the liquid is in very short national supply, and we are making it.
That liquid is carried in a vial.
It's absolutely essential that the sample is preserved.
Helen Wing, a life sciences professor, is leading the way on the project.
Certainly there would be issues if the specimen wasn't taken. If there were sterility issues or things like that, that could also impact the test.
Wing says they've ramped up production to meet the testing needs of the community.
Probably about 7,000, because we've been doing small batches as our initial trials, and now we're bulking up and we expect to be able to hit 5,000 a week.
For Wing, working together is key to getting through this pandemic.
We've got to bulk up our testing, and so this seems like a really important thing to be doing.
2 Las Vegans on board 2 separate cruise ships off the Atlantic coast are asking for help. They say they're healthy and passengers disembarked over a month ago, yet they still haven't been able to set foot on land. When Taylor Bracey, a Las Vegas native and ship production manager, set sail on the Sky Princess back in January, she never imagined a global pandemic would keep her out at sea.
It's upsetting, I guess, that we're not allowed to go home, basically.
On March 14th, Bracey says Princess Cruises halted operations, disembarking hundreds of passengers. But Bracey, along with 54 other staff members, are anchored off the Bahamas, waiting for an answer.
We docked in Fort Lauderdale on April 23rd. And we were told in advance by the CDC that no crew would be allowed to disembark, including Americans.
Despite what Bracey says is a healthy ship.
We haven't had any illnesses on board and no new influenza-like illness cases in over 21 days.
Also unable to disembark, 400 crew members on board the Seabourn Odyssey, anchored in Barbados.
And it is frustrating. We've been stuck here for 60 days. I haven't touched dry land. I want to get home. I want to see my family.
Ryan Driscoll is a vocalist from Las Vegas. He says he boarded in October and is still there. The U.S. Embassy told him he could leave along with the Barbados Port Authority and the State Department.
But my company, the Carnival Corporation and Seabourn Cruise Line, is telling me otherwise. They're telling me, no, you're not allowed to. I don't know where you're getting that information.
Driscoll says his vessel is also healthy and never had any sick passengers.
We're all stuck in our rooms. We can only leave for meals, and we have to wear our masks and be 6 feet apart and follow all the CDC guidelines.
Both Driscoll and Bracey are thankful for the hospitality their companies have provided while stuck at sea, but with no end in sight.
It does sort of make you feel a little bit abandoned by your country, just because now it's like I don't have anywhere to go. Like, I would still like to go home and enjoy my time off and see my family.
Bill loves the controversy, loves to stir the pot. For me, I don't know how I feel about it, but I have never picked his brain specifically about MJ. But it's really hard to pick Bill Laimbeer's brain, so I kind of just do what he asks me to do, and I get out the way.
Well, Kelsey Plum knows exactly how stubborn her coach Bill Laimbeer really is, and after watching episodes 3 and 4 of Jordan's Last Dance documentary, the young world now knows Bill Laimbeer's bad boy attitude and his competitive nature. Now, you talk about not letting the past go. Michael Jordan said he still hates those Bad Boy Pistons to this day. And then today on ESPN with Rachel Nichols, Laimbeer had plenty to say about Jordan and his Bulls.
They whined and cried for a year and a half about how bad we were for the game. But more importantly, they said we're bad people. We weren't bad people. We were just basketball players winning. And that kind of stuck with me because they didn't know who we were or what we were about as individuals in our family life. I don't care what the media says about them. I never did. If I did, I'd be a basket case, especially back then. I was about winning basketball games and winning championships and did whatever I had to do to get the most out of my ability and our team. And we did. At the end of the day, we're called world champions.
Well, that's true. Well, Henry Ruggs III, the Las Vegas Raiders' first pick, is a ridiculous athlete. Now, look at those basketball highlights that we've been seeing circulating since the draft. So, we already know that Ruggs III ran the fastest 40-yard dash time of any receiver in the draft, and we also know he played for Alabama. But what else? Well, over the next week, we'll introduce you to the Raiders' 7 draft picks, and tonight, we'll start with number 11, Ruggs III. Jesse Merrick has the story.
1st and 10 for the Tide from their own 25, playing the Aggies for the first time ever. Make the notch, and that's a pass out to Ruggs, who's got plenty of daylight. First play of the game.
That right there is exactly why they made Henry Ruggs the first wideout off the board on Thursday night.
It means a lot, just that they go in and use their pick on me, for the first wide receiver and, their first draft pick ever.
One look at the tape and you can see why the Raiders couldn't wait to get him in silver and black. In addition, Mayock says will do wonders for the offense.
If you force defenses to roll coverage, it opens up our run game. You respect our deep routes, it opens up Darren Waller. I just think it does an awful lot of things for us offensively.
Hard to argue anyone in the draft has a better pedigree of doing just that. Ruggs had 24 touchdowns on 98 catches at Alabama, good for the highest career receiving touchdown percentage in the SEC over the last 20 years.
We'll also have a bunch of manufactured touches for him, whether they're zone, jet sweeps, bubble screens, just an ability to get him the ball in space and use that speed.
For News 3 Sports, I'm Jesse Merrick.
Thank you very much, Jesse. And the Raiderettes are adapting to the coronavirus isolation and holding virtual auditions beginning May 1st. Now, folks, I have no idea how that works, but I do know that you can find useful information at Raiders.com/Raiderettes.